And chases dance away when he said.
Time is just gone 10 minutes past 10 minutes to 10 to 9 a.m. as we head towards news, and we are now looking at unpacking President Ramaphosa's Wednesday night address to the nation, and we joined on the line by Dr. Charles Sinkala, who is President Africa 55 States and Organization of African Political Parties. Dr. Sinkala, good morning to you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to your listeners and the viewers.
Right. Dr. Charles Sinkala, let's talk about President Ramaphosa. Obviously, he addressed the nation last night, and I think a lot was expected in terms of providing where we are as far as the pandemic is concerned, focusing on the numbers at this point in time, and also at the same time providing advice in his address. Just some of the key issues or the standout issues for you in terms of the address by the president when we unpack what he had to say.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is it is something that we expected from him because of the previous speech he has made, and including the letter he released, the newsletter released in the week. But like what you said, there's many expectations the South African people they would expect from the president, especially regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. As you are aware, on many speeches he has, or the government has said, they say they are trying to mitigate the risk of the coronavirus. They want to understand it, and when they understand it, they'll come back to the people and explain what is this virus is and what has been the shadow boxing or been all about. But having said that, it was very contradictory statement. I must admit, I expected it to be more practical and more detailed in terms of explaining what is a virus and how it affects the communities, and as well as the economical strata of the country. And, in the same statement, he mentioned of the more than 92% recoveries. If we look at the statistics worldwide, about 52 million people has been diagnosed positive with COVID-19. Of these, I think it's over 50 to 60 or even maybe 70% of the recoveries. Some of these recovering from their houses, or maybe some from the hospitals, and as well as the deaths, in the country, which has been close to 21,000 as we are speaking now. And most of these deaths, we lack in the details of these type of deaths. If it is the continued story of underlying conditions by those who are diagnosed, or what is the story behind it? There's so many information that is missing from the president's speech that people have actually decided now. I can listen to the comments over social media and the other platforms. Many comments from the people. It's like now they are fed up. President Ramaphosa, trying to prove this point as he's doing his third year term of the 5-year term as the president of South Africa. Many people expect more things to be done.
Exactly. I think you raise a very, very important point in terms of the contradictions. And this seems to be a sentiment that is expressed by many, where the president seems to be just contradicting himself. But at the same time, the lack of clarity, because if we want to understand the pandemic, if we want to know what the pandemic is really doing, one needs absolute clarity. And even as you mentioned in the numbers that have been, as far as the deaths are concerned, there is still a bit of skepticism as far as the numbers are concerned, in terms of whether they truly represent mortalities as a result of COVID-19.
Yes, indeed. And if you're talking to your son who's in matric and is getting 92%, more than 92% for argument's sake, then you still condemn them that you're not doing well. It is such an a very bad statement by the president, where he cites that the recovery rate has been so high, and yet he's cited some areas in Western Cape and as well as Eastern Cape that there's increase in terms of COVID-19 cases. The president must understand, together with his commanding council, that people must get exposed to the virus for them to build up the immune system, the antibodies of the body, to fight the disease. And it is nothing of something of shocking, and that is threatens the healthy places of the country and the continent at large. We have seen how the reaction, in fact, if we talk about the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the chair of SADC, and we can see the results by the people, within the communities and the townships. There's so much unhygienic practices there, non-social distancing and all these type of things, and many others. But we see the cases, there's none of those cases of coronavirus is coming from those areas, and in fact, this is just another avenue as well that the government now is spending more money in terms of shadow boxing than reality. The facts are there. Many countries across the continent, Africa in particular, they have actually tried to be silent on the fight against the COVID-19. Yes, the president mentioned that South Africa is leading the fight against the coronavirus, but it's known that South Africa is the only country, on the continent that is playing the game. We hear of the Tanzanian president, Pombe Magufuli, mentioned of the coronavirus. We must be very careful, in terms of how we release our resources in terms of mitigating this risk. I mean, many equipments and the so-called vaccines has been purchased, especially from the South African government. I can mention as well that there's a case going on within the parliament there, where they are questioning the defense force that they purchased a medication worth 150 million rand, allegedly said that it's a vaccine for coronavirus, and many others, talking about as well as the ventilators in hospitals. And this is what we expected to hear from the president, to give us that clarity, like what you mentioned, that how many are on ventilators, how many have recovered, and if they have recovered, what has caused them to recover? Is it their natural immune system, or there's medications which has been prescribed to them for them to recover? Or are we being led by the World Health Organization, that whatever the World Health Organization has said, we must just do it in terms of health? And what about the case study of the United States of America under President Trump, who withdrew from World Health Organization? Why did he withdraw? What is the agenda, of the globalist? Are we just championing things that people are talking about the health, that because we are more vulnerable and scared of death? This is the time that now the South Africans are more aware of what is happening. There's so much research, what is being involved within the social media platform and alternative news, away from the mainstream media. So people are aware of what is exactly happening. If you walk across the country, you will see exactly that people now, they are not even doing the social distancing or using the face mask or whatever, because they can't really see what is really the problem. What they can see, the virus, though, is the poverty virus, the farm mothers virus, the gender-based virus, the crime, which has, gone threefold. That is what they can see. And how can the government or the president, preside over the country, which is, going through these problems, and it's try to tackle problems by problems, instead of merely announcing the COVID-19 statistics? What about the corruption statistics? What about the poverty statistics? What about the farm murder statistics? These are the things that we need to compare the coronavirus to, HIV and AIDS, as well as tuberculosis and many other diseases. Is this that the coronavirus is the only new kid on the block, that it has to take the budgets from NASFAS, from the children education and any other infrastructure development which was supposed to be done? These are the issues that we have to talk about. Yes, it's a virus, it is there, it is real. We are not denying the fact, but the effect of the virus itself, is it that dangerous that we cannot even live in our countries. How many number of people has been protected from the coronavirus, and how many people have lost jobs and employment? Talking about employment, we've got also overemployment, in the government sector, and as well as the state-owned enterprises, where the wage bill is over 60 to 70%.
Exactly. In fact, Dr. Charles, you've raised so much, and I think you and I can have the better part of the next half an hour actually talking to each other. And there is just so much more to unpack from what you've just said, and hopefully we can have this opportunity at some stage to talk again. But unfortunately, time is against us, and we've got to head for news. But for now, just unpacking these important, critical issues. We thank you for that. We thank you for your time. We do appreciate it.
One last. I know our time has gone, but one last point which I've just remembered, if you may allow me quickly.
Yes,
The
please do.
president said that we must, on the Freedom Day, we must celebrate the Jerusalem song. But again, in his speech, he questions that people are celebrating and they're exposing themselves. So these are the issues we are talking about, the contradictory speech by the president. Is it just about the controlling people? You release the people and you stop the people from participating or having a fair deal in the country. I thank you, and thank you very much for having me onto this platform.
Yes, all the best to you, Dr. Charles Sinkala. Please take care.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Charles Sinkala joining us this morning, unpacking the address by President Ramaphosa. And there's just so much more to it. And I think many of us are actually becoming quite bored, I think, every time the president addresses, because he's basically repeating the rhetoric over and over again without addressing some of the most important or critical issues that Dr. Charles Sinkala speaks about. The time is just gone 2 minutes past 9, and we're heading for the news. We'll be back quite a bit more to talk about when we come back.